can't be the only person who loves my birthday in this room. 2 years ago, I founded Celebrate RVA, a nonprofit dedicated to celebrating the birthdays of underprivileged children in Richmond. We have celebrated over 750 children so far in the past 2 years, and in the next year alone, we plan to celebrate more than 1,000. Looking back 2 years, I would never guess we would be where we are today, but I'm both honored and humbled at the impact we've made. But why birthdays? Birthdays make us feel special, loved, and valued. I have no hard-hitting facts for you, but what I do know is this, is that at every birthday party where we celebrate between 30 and 40 birthday children who we know have had a birthday within that given month, a number of them are unable to tell me the actual day that they were born. A day that is so special and meant to celebrate their lives, they just aren't aware of. When I was a junior in high school, community service and serving others was already a big part of my life, but I knew that I was ready for a more significant commitment to an organization. After doing some research, I found a nonprofit that celebrated homeless children on their birthday, and the obvious had never occurred to me. These children, these impoverished children, weren't given the opportunity to celebrate their day. There was an absence of joy in these communities, and I had the opportunity to provide it. I decided to reach out and to see if it would be possible to bring this program to the East Coast and to Richmond, and we were talking for about 2 weeks, and at that time I told the founder how old I was, and I said it very plainly, and I never heard back from her after that email, and I still have not to this day. But I learned a valuable lesson then, that people don't think that our generation, the millennials, can make a positive difference in our communities. But I was determined and I moved on, and in January of 2013 I founded Celebrate RVA. Celebrate RVA has a humble mission: to give disadvantaged children a memorable birthday celebration in a safe and fun environment. While Celebrate RVA's foremost mission is celebrating and creating joy, so much more comes from what we do. When I reached out to the head coach down at VCU of men's soccer to see if his players might want to volunteer, I would never imagine that our partnership would be where it is today. And come to find out that many of his players actually were from these neighborhoods and grew up with very similar backgrounds as some of our children. However, they use soccer and their passion for the sport to succeed academically and to pursue their goals in life. And now they play as college athletes. With our University of Richmond lacrosse players, I've seen young men who come from extremely privileged backgrounds make unlikely friendships with children whose families live off less than $700 a month. I've been amazed as community leaders in Richmond make sacrifices and donations to our organization that have changed lives and touched hearts. Lawyers, bankers, attorneys who have achieved amazing things in their careers are taking the time to sit down with me and answer my many questions, and give me advice. Here's the thing. Our generation has a heart for social entrepreneurship, changing the landscape of the nonprofit sector and disrupting the norms. However, when I was working in the field and working in these nonprofits, I saw a lack of youth, and I wondered why. I couldn't figure it out. But I thought about it, and the youth that were most involved had one single thing in common. They had started out having an expectation for community outreach in their communities, and had discovered a passion and joy in that work and chosen to continue. But the most important thing was that they had been raised in a culture of service. So how do we get the college, the high school, and the generations after us who don't have this support involved? Because the issue lies here. Those that grew up in places where community service is an integral part of family lives, churches, and schools have the resources to find the opportunities to serve. Those that don't, they don't have the list of programs to participate in, volunteer fairs, they just aren't exposed to the opportunities. I say we implement public school service requirements and watch their potential unfold with proper access to resources. So here are the facts. There are approximately 1.3 million high school students enrolled in private school in America. This is where the majority of required community service is found. but 90% of high school students are in the public schools. And very few of these students' school districts have requirements for community service. In fact, only Rhode Island and the District of Columbia have community service requirements. So the gifts and talents of millions of high school students are going untapped. Why do our public school students not have this same requirement? They're just as capable and passionate about society's issues. So approximately 2 million of these public school students have recorded and logged service hours. However, that leaves 13 million students who don't know where to turn to for opportunities. If each student is required just 25 hours, we see a potential for 325 million additional hours. Think about how our world could be impacted and changed with 325 million additional hours of volunteer work. Not only our world, but also our volunteers' lives. Celebrate RVA is a product of a mix of passion for service and knowing that I had hours to complete. But soon those hours melted away and I stopped tracking. And it became my life and it became the one thing that gave me passion. So I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be when at our very first birthday party, this young girl had come inside and I was still setting up and we had volunteers out on the playground. She came in with tears streaming down her face and her mother behind her, yelling at her that she was making her late for her hair appointment. And it broke my heart that this little girl had to leave her birthday party early. It didn't make sense to me. And so a volunteer and I went over and we asked if we could just have a few more minutes with this child. And in that time, we had her blow out a candle and make a wish for the next year of her life. And in that moment, when she made her wish, I made my very own wish for her. And that was that she knew how loved and cherished she was by our community. At our event this last March, just about a year ago, we had a quiet boy check into the birthday room, and this never really shocks me when they're quiet because they're really intimidated by this environment of joy that we create because they aren't exposed to it frequently. So I called one of our soccer players over and I gently pushed the two of them towards the air hockey table, and within minutes he kind of came out of his shell and I didn't think much of it. And at the end, his mom came in and he didn't want to leave, and so I walked over to her. And with tears in her eyes, she looked at me and she said, "I've never seen him like this before." Come to find out, the young boy had Asperger's. He didn't have any friends in school, he was disengaged in class, and he never really wanted to play at recess. But I think it speaks volumes about what we do and what an hour of joy and celebration can do for a child. And finally, we had a young boy, shy and reserved, walk into our birthday party room. But I would have never, ever guessed what I was about to learn about him. He was too young and he was certainly too innocent. About 45 minutes into the birthday party, a man comes in and he tells me that he's this boy's court-appointed in-home counselor and that they have to leave early to figure out where this boy is going to be spending the weekend. And he had to do that because his mother had been shot and killed in the family home and he'd watched his mother die. And he had nowhere to stay. Aunts, uncles, grandparents were locking him out of the house, essentially telling him he was unwanted and unloved. And in this afternoon, we were able to give him just a little bit of the joy that he so deserved. We were able to sing him happy birthday and watch him blow out a candle and pray that he made a wish for his life. That's why I celebrate RVA. That's why I believe that joy changes everything. I believe in the power of a celebration. But most of all, I believe in our generation's ability to change the landscape of our communities. When I recognized that there was a spark and that I had the opportunity to create change, I was hesitant to take it. So I challenge each of you that if you recognize a burden, a problem, or something missing from your community, pursue it, investigate it. See how you can change the world as a millennial. Let's change the question from do you volunteer to where do you volunteer? Hold them to a higher standard, and let's change the face of Generation Y while creating a culture of service so that we can improve the lives of those around us.